Good evening. Let us discuss the 5th October 2015 newspaper. Let's come back into the R.K. Raghavan's article that is empowering the security agencies. Now you know that the security climate in the country is becoming more and more complex. For a country such as India, one way there is cross-border terrorism, and also on the other way the homegrown terrorism is increasing. And nowadays we are also seeing the Hindu terror or fringe groups that are involved with various terror acts. So in this context, the information forms very much critical for the intelligence agencies to prevent a terror act from happening. So this information access is a thing which has to be balanced between the rights of the citizens on one side and the security of the nation on the other side. So it means if there is government spying on its citizens or collecting clandestinely the information related to the citizens, it can create an atmosphere of fear, and also the citizens cannot be able to freely express about their opinions. And at the same time, any information that is shared on electronic platforms, etc., is a vital source for the governmental agencies to track or also to investigate about the terror networks nowadays. So in this case, with regard to these tech companies, the encryption is the major challenge. Now, so what this article suggests is, one way we have to empower our security agencies, providing them with the greater information access. Now, in these circumstances, there is every chance that the information may be misused, or authorities can be insensitive in collecting the information, which may do a greater damage to the individual freedom. So, in this context, an oversight or accountability mechanism has to be created for not getting it repeated, or to control the power of the investigative agencies and also the intelligence agencies. A strong oversight mechanism is necessary. Now, second thing is, the digital India needs to go local. So this particular statement is very much important to me. So digital infrastructure may not be much help in addressing the governance and developmental concerns unless it is integrated into the wider structural and institutional reforms. It means that digital India, it has to facilitate the empowerment of the grassroots level institutions. It means that the digital India has to be more meaningful to a revenue worker, to a police constable, auxiliary nurse midwife. So all these people who are at the cutting edge level to the rural India, they shall get empowered and their capabilities have to be increased to make the digital India to be productively useful for the poor and marginalized. So in this context, providing for the training to these cutting edge functionaries and increasing their e-literacy and making the people to use the so-called e-gadgets, all this can create a conducive atmosphere towards creation of inclusive digital India. The next is universalization of immunization. Now, if you remember last year, there is pentavalent vaccine was in news. What is this pentavalent vaccine? Gavi Alliance, that is Global Alliance for Vaccination and Immunization, which was promoted by Belinda and Bill Gates. It provides for something called pentavalent vaccination. This is a vaccination against diphtheria, pertussis, tetanus, Haemophilus influenza B and hepatitis B. So DPT plus, Hib vaccine plus, HB, hepatitis B. These 5 components together we call it as pentavalent vaccine. Now in India, there are certain areas where vaccination did not reach to its potential and they are prone to the vaccine preventable diseases. Some innovation has occurred already in this vaccination area. Because of this, the neonatal deaths have radically come down from 126 in 1919 to almost 53 deaths, that is under 5 mortality, has come down from 126 to 53 in 2013, over 23 years of time. But however, India is the country where the largest number of children are dying from preventable causes of death. For example, vaccine preventable causes of the death. It means if you provide them with vaccination, probably the death of the child could have been prevented. So in this context, recently government has launched Indra Dhanush. The major focus of this Indra Dhanush is to cover 90% of the children and women who are not immunized by 2020. 90% who are not immunized by 2020 need to be covered. So for this, what the government is doing is a focused approach towards the tribal belts where the vaccination is low. There the government is giving the attention. In that way it can cover this 90% of the approach. Now in this context, the article also recommends that India can take the expertise and help from WHO, Gavi Alliance, UNICEF, etc. Because the success of India, it becomes a learning experience for many other countries which are facing the similar situation. So the world is looking for India with regard to improvising the vaccination and making it universal. And gas prices and some issues. Now, the gas prices in India, they are pegged to the gas prices in 4 countries. So what are these 4 countries? US, Canada, Mexico and Russia. So these are the 4 countries. Based on that, we determine our gas prices. Because of this, the gas price has come down to $3.8 per unit. Now there are 2 concerns over here. Now, there is a time lag between the price movements in these respective markets, that is US, Russia, Mexico and Canada, and the price movement in India. It is almost 1 year plus a quarter, that is 3 months. So 1 year, 3 months of time gap is there. And the second thing is, the prices in West, they are not reflected in the Asian markets. The Asian prices are generally higher than the Western market prices. So in these circumstances, why we have chosen these 4 countries is the second question. And third question is brought in by Mr. Kejriwal, because in the KG-D6 basin, it is explored for the consumption in India. So the prices have to be determined, the cost have to be determined on the basis of the exploration cost rather than the market determined prices. So these are the 3 arguments made. That is the reason why we have to revisit the gas prices. And next is a hope in Sri Lanka. We know that many positive things have happened in Sri Lanka recently. A national unity government has come into existence with a UNDP on one side and other one is Vikram Singh's party, United UDF on the other side. And the second thing is a reconciliation process has started between the Tamils and Sinhalese parties. So there is some political or a true devolution to the provinces, eastern and northern provinces is about to come up. And the third thing is, UN Human Rights Council has given its report to create an hybrid court in Sri Lanka through a legislative process. And this hybrid court shall consist of international jurists, prosecutors, etc. So there is a hope that there will be justice which can be upheld for atrocities that are committed at the flag end of the war, both by the LTTE and also by the Sri Lankan armed forces. So it means there is a hope that is prevailing in Sri Lanka. Now in these circumstances, these expectations cannot be belied for the future of Sri Lanka. And next is inclusive ecosystem for the mental health. You know that in 2014, this is an expected question for this year, India, first of its kind, it has passed the National Mental Health Policy. It is first of its kind in India. Now if you see, there are various laws in India. Now the Lunacy Act in India, which is existing before independence, National Mental Health Act of 1987, most of these acts, they are not implemented, or they have seen the mental health condition as a personal health problem, or else more than a health problem, it is seen at the individual level or personal level, and social exclusion of the individual was common. So now, the mental health is not just a medical problem, it is also a social problem, because the social outcasting of the mentally ill person is everywhere visible. And the second thing is, the supportive system or caregivers to the mentally ill health persons mostly comes from the family in India. Slowly, the family with mentally health per people, it will drift down the economic ladder and they come into the poverty vicious cycle. So the mental health deprivation, lack of facilities, support systems, etc., they create a vicious cycle of poverty. Now in this context, national health policy has radical recommendations to provide tax reductions for the people who are giving caregivers to the mental health victims. And the second thing is decriminalization of so-called as suicide. And next it sees the mental health problem as a disease rather than a personality attribute. And next it also talks about improving the human resources to provide for comprehensive mental health care both in the rural and urban areas in India. It also promises to provide for improved budgetary allocations. Now in this context, Wall Street Journal has said this statement. It says that in India, it is a landmark policy which is a departure from the past. But however, the implementation is the most difficult one. So till now, though the policy is formulated, the mental health bill is not, is still pending, and no budgetary allocations are made towards the mental health in India. And still, we have one psychiatrist for more than 3 lakh population in country. That shows the severe human resources crunch with regard to the mental health conditions in India. This is an expected question. Try to go through this particular notes in my uploaded material. Understand carefully this particular thing what we are talking about, the notes that will be uploaded in www.laex.in. And next is because I collect this material from various sources, then in Facebook there are certain issues of property, intellectual property rights, etc. I post it on laex.in. And the video will be posted on Rambabu Sir Students and laex.in. So please go through that, and all the best for everyone. Thank you very much.